Welcome to the Self-Belief Podcast, the show that we shift your self-belief in, because self-belief shifting shifts everything. It's something that I've noticed about myself, and I know that I'm not going to be the only one. I'll buy a book. I get excited about it. I'll start reading it even. And then I put it to one side. And I kind of hope that the information gets into my head by osmosis. But even when I do read a bit of it, I don't always take it in properly. I read the words, but they don't always stick. And I go back and think, did I read that bit? Now, if I listen to something, it goes in differently. But I still need the book as well, because I like to highlight the bits that stand out for me. So what I've noticed is, it's not just about the reading, and it's not just about the listening. It's about how you take it in, and what you actually then do with it. Inside my membership, I read things out loud, and people keep saying the same thing. Something just clicks. They hear it differently. They understand it differently, and they actually want to do something with it. So I created something around that with my book, and it's called the Just Being You, the Live Experiment. Small group, just 12 people, and every 2 weeks I read a chapter to you, and you hear how it was actually meant to be heard. Then 2 weeks later, we do the continued writing from that chapter together. So you're not just reading something and moving on, doing nothing about it. You're actually stopping, noticing what's coming up for you and doing something about it. There's no homework, there's no pressure, just a space to actually take in what the chapters of my book mean in the way that I meant you to hear it. £75 and there's only 12 spaces. So if you've got books on your shelf that you meant to read, or you've read things and nothing's changed, this is the bit that's been missing. The link's in the show notes. There are moments where something happens and your mind moves straight into doing. Fixing it, sorting it, carrying it. You don't stop to ask if it's yours. You just step in and it feels normal to do it. Welcome back to the Self-Belief Podcast. I'm Jenny Field, your self-belief expert from Just Being Me. And today, I want to talk to you about when responsibility becomes too much. This is the second episode in the series of 4 that we're looking at boundaries in everyday life. Not just the obvious ones, but the ones that are happening quietly in your background. Because responsibility is usually seen as a good thing. If someone describes you as responsible, it sounds like a compliment. It means people trust you, things get done, and you're someone that other people can rely on. Most of us grow up believing that responsibility is something we should aim for, and in many ways it is. Being able to take care of things, follow through, and keep your word really matters. But there is another side to responsibility that people just rarely talk about. There comes a point where responsibility stops being healthy. It becomes the feeling that everything is yours to deal with. Not just your own work or your own life, but the things that are happening around you as well. Someone is upset and you feel the need to fix it. Something isn't working and you step in. A situation becomes uncomfortable and before you've even thought about it, you're already trying to make it better. And at first, that doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like you're helping and doing what a responsible person does. If you are capable, people begin to rely on you. Work finds its way to you because you get things finished and situations just land on your shoulders because others know you will deal with them. Often, no one has actually asked you to do it. It just becomes the role you step into. For me, that pattern didn't start in the workplace. Work was just the place where it became obvious. The belief that I needed to make things right had been there long before that. When you grow up believing that someone else's mood is your fault, responsibility starts to mean something very different. If someone was upset, I assumed I had caused it. If someone was angry, I tried to work out what I'd done wrong. If something didn't feel right, my instinct was to smooth things over so the situation would settle down. When I questioned that as a child, I told I was being difficult. So instead of questioning it, I tried harder to prove that I wasn't. Trying harder meant keeping the peace. It meant avoiding conflict, even when it had nothing to do with me. And it meant saying yes when I would rather have said no. So by the time I reached adulthood, that way of thinking felt completely normal. So when there was more work than one person should reasonably have been doing, I did what I'd always done. I stayed late because things need finishing. If someone else was struggling, I stepped in, and the deadlines were tight, I worked harder. From the outside, it looked like commitment, but inside, I believed I was failing. If something wasn't finished on time, I didn't question whether the workload was realistic. I assumed I should have worked harder. If a deadline was due, I stayed later, and if someone else was struggling, I just stepped in because leaving it felt wrong to me. At the time, that felt like responsibility. I believed that if I was good enough, then I should be able to handle it, and I couldn't keep up, then the problem was me. Those beliefs keep you going for a long time because you don't see the situation clearly. You see it through the lens of trying harder and proving that you are good enough. When something doesn't get finished, you push yourself more. When the pressure increases, you stay longer. And when someone else needs your help, you take some of their work on as well. From the outside, it looks like commitment and reliability, but inside, it can feel like there's always more waiting, no matter how much you have already done. And because I believed the problem was me, I didn't stop. If something wasn't finished, I stayed later. If something went wrong, I tried harder. I told myself that once everything was caught up, it would all settle down again. And for a long time, I believe that was simply what being responsible meant. If something needed doing it, I did it. If something was falling behind, I tried to catch it up. And if somebody else was struggling, I stepped in because leaving it felt wrong. None of it felt unusual. It just felt like what I was doing was what needed to be done, and that meant I was good enough. It was only later when I stepped away from that environment that I started to see it differently. I could see how much I'd been carrying and how normal it had felt at the time. Work that should have been shared had slowly become mine, and situations that belonged to other people had become mine as well. No one had sat me down and asked me if I could take it all on. I'd simply believed that it was my job to make things work. And when you believe that, it changes how you respond to everything around you. You don't ask whether something is yours to deal with. You assume it is. You don't question whether the expectation is realistic. You try harder so you can meet it. You keep going because stopping feels like failing. And when you believe that, keeping boundaries feels very difficult. Not because you don't understand what a boundary is, but because saying no feels like you're letting someone down or not doing your part, so you take responsibility for more. For years, I believed that I was simply being part of being responsible. But when you start to look at it differently, something shifts. You begin to see where responsibility ends and where over-responsibility begins. You begin to notice the moments where you are stepping in without being asked, and the moments where you are carrying something that isn't yours. And that awareness matters, because once you see it, you can start to question it. Not from blame, but from awareness. And that is where your boundaries begin to change. Thank you for being here with me today, and I'll see you next time for number 3 in the series. Thanks for listening today. If you'd like to know more, you can find all the links down below. Oh, and don't forget to press subscribe so you can catch the next one. See you soon.